The Federation was caught in a dilemma. Do they prepare for battle, or do they open a dialogue with humanity? It was a question that would determine the future of the galaxy. The warship was now just days away from the galactic frontier. It was clear that something extraordinary was about to unfold. The once secure Federation was now on the edge of uncertainty. Humanity, the species once considered insignificant, was about to reveal just how powerful they had become. The warning had been sent. The question now was, how would the Federation respond? Would they face the might of humanity's warship and be forced to adapt? Or would they dismiss this new force as a mere shadow of their own power? The answers were coming, and they would change everything. The galactic frontier was a vast and hostile region, where only the bravest ships dared to venture. It was a place where many had disappeared, swallowed by the darkness of space, never to be heard from again. It was an area known to the Federation, but it was also a place they rarely paid attention to, assuming nothing of importance would ever come from this far-flung corner of the galaxy. But now, that was about to change. The human warship, a giant vessel that looked more like an ancient fortress than a ship, cruised silently through the cold void of space. Its engines hummed with power, and its massive hull gleamed with a dull metallic shine under the light of distant stars. It was a relic from a forgotten era, but it had been carefully maintained and upgraded, making it a formidable force. Inside the warship, the crew worked with precision and calm. The ship was commanded by Captain Elias Walker, a seasoned leader with years of military experience. His eyes were sharp, his demeanor serious. Captain Walker had no illusions about the journey ahead. The Federation was vast, and their power was unmatched. But he also knew one thing that they didn't. Humanity wasn't as weak as they thought. This warship, the last of its kind, was humanity's answer to those who had underestimated them. Walker stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the star map displayed before him. The ship was approaching Federation territory. He could feel the tension in the air. His crew was ready, but there was no telling what kind of reception they would get. They were stepping into the unknown. "All systems are green, Captain," reported Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, the ship's chief engineer. "We're on course, and our stealth systems are holding. They won't detect us unless we make a move." Walker nodded. "Keep it that way. We don't need to start a war just yet." He knew that the Federation was monitoring the outer edges of their territory. They were aware of the approaching warship, but they had no idea who was behind it or what their intentions were. If the Federation attacked, humanity's chances of survival were slim. The Federation's fleets were many, and their technology far surpassed what Earth had. But that didn't matter. If the Federation wanted a war, they would get one. But humanity would fight with everything they had. The crew continued their work in silence, the steady hum of the warship's engines, the only sound breaking the stillness of space. On the observation deck, Private Marcus Hill stared out at the stars. His mind was racing, filled with thoughts of what was to come. He had trained for years, but nothing could truly prepare him for what lay ahead. Hill had grown up hearing stories about humanity's past. His grandparents had lived through the wars that had nearly destroyed Earth, and they had passed down stories of the courage and resilience of the human spirit. Now, as a soldier aboard the warship, he was about to experience that strength firsthand. "Private, you good?" asked Sergeant Leela Kane, walking over to Hill. She was one of the toughest soldiers on the ship, known for her no-nonsense attitude. Hill nodded, forcing a smile. "Just thinking about what we're up against." "Don't worry," Kane said with a grin. "We've got a lot more than the Federation realizes. They might have the numbers, but we've got the will." Hill chuckled softly. "Yeah, but we're not exactly going in with reinforcements, are we?" Kane's smile faded slightly, but she didn't hesitate. "We don't need them. We're going to show the Federation that humanity doesn't back down." Hill felt a sense of pride swell in his chest. It wasn't just about the warship or the mission. It was about humanity's place in the galaxy. For too long, humans had been pushed around, ignored, and underestimated. But that was changing now. The Federation was about to learn that humans were a force to be reckoned with. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Federation was growing increasingly uneasy. Their sensors had picked up the human warship's presence, and their scouts had been unable to confirm what it was. The Federation's command was split on how to approach the situation. President Saylor, the reptilian leader of the Galactic Federation, paced nervously in his private quarters. His advisors had been pressing him to act quickly, but Saylor had a different perspective. The Federation had been in power for so long that they had become complacent. The thought of a species like humanity challenging them was laughable, but the evidence before him was undeniable. "Send out more scouts," Saylor ordered, his voice cold and commanding. "We need more information before we make a move. I want to know who these humans are and what they want." His advisor, a tall, armored figure from the warlike Erickson species, nodded. "Of course, President. But time is running out. The warship is approaching quickly." Saylor's eyes narrowed. "Then we shall see if they are truly as dangerous as they think they are." The Federation had never faced a threat like humanity before. Their arrogance and superiority had blinded them to the strength that humans possessed. Now, as the warship drew closer, the Federation would have to make a decision: to confront humanity or to find another way to deal with them. But one thing was clear: humanity's strength was no longer something they could ignore. The silence of space was broken only by the hum of the human warship's engines as it edged closer to Federation territory. Captain Elias Walker stood on the bridge, staring at the massive star map before him. His eyes flickered over the coordinates, his mind processing every piece of information at lightning speed. They were entering uncharted space, territory no human ship had ever dared to cross before. But they were here now, and the Federation was going to know they were here. "Captain," Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez called from the communication station, her voice steady but laced with tension. "We've got a transmission coming through. It's from a Federation scout ship." "Patch it through," Walker ordered, his expression never changing. The screen flickered to life, and a stern-faced Federation officer appeared. He was reptilian in appearance, with cold, calculating eyes and a sharp, angular face. The officer's uniform was adorned with insignia that marked him as a high-ranking member of the Federation military. His voice was sharp and commanding, but there was a hint of uncertainty underneath. "Human warship, you are entering Federation-controlled space. Identify yourself immediately." The crew fell silent, waiting for Walker's response. He could feel the eyes of his team on him, each one silently wondering what would happen next. This was the moment. This was the first test of humanity's strength in the galaxy. Walker stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. He knew the Federation was powerful, but this wasn't just any human ship they were dealing with. This warship was humanity's last line of defense, and it would show the galaxy that humans could no longer be ignored. "This is Captain Elias Walker of the United Earth Fleet," he said calmly, his voice carrying across the bridge. "We come in peace, but we will not be threatened. Any hostile action will be met with full retaliation." The Federation officer's eyes narrowed. "You are trespassing in Federation space. This is your final warning. Stand down or face the consequences." Walker didn't flinch. "We're not standing down. We're here to show you that humanity is not a species to be overlooked. If you choose to engage, we will defend ourselves. We're not afraid of your threats." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. For a moment, no one spoke. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, wondering what the Federation's next move would be. They had expected a confrontation, but hearing it so plainly from the Federation officer made it feel all the more real. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke up, her voice breaking the tension. "We've detected multiple Federation ships on a direct course towards us. They're preparing for battle." The crew braced themselves. The warship was powerful, but it was just one ship against the might of the Federation fleet. They had no choice now but to fight, but Walker wasn't worried. He had faith in his crew. He had faith in humanity. Red alert, Walker commanded. Prepare for battle. All hands, stations. The crew moved quickly and efficiently, preparing the ship's weapons and defenses. The warship's sleek design was built for both offense and defense, and the human soldiers aboard were well trained. They had one advantage the Federation didn't: human ingenuity. They were capable of thinking on their feet, of adapting to any situation. As the crew worked, Sergeant Layla Kane stood by the tactical station, scanning the enemy fleet's movements. "Captain, they've got us outnumbered, but they're underestimating us. We'll have to use our speed and agility to get the upper hand." Walker nodded. "We've got one shot at this. We can't let them think they can just push us around." The Federation fleet was fast approaching, their warships massive and heavily armed. But what they didn't know was that the human warship had something they didn't: a secret weapon. The warship had been equipped with advanced stealth technology, allowing it to slip past enemy ships undetected, even in the heat of battle. "We'll use the element of surprise," Walker said, his voice resolute. "We'll hit them where it hurts, fast and hard." No hesitation. The warship's weapons systems powered up, and the crew prepared for the confrontation. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the Federation ships closed in. The next few moments would decide humanity's fate. Meanwhile, on the Federation flagship, President Saller watched the approaching human warship on the large display. His eyes glowed with an unsettling mix of curiosity and anger. The humans had dared to send a single warship into Federation space, and they had made their intentions clear. They were not here to ask for permission. They were here to take what they wanted. "We will teach them a lesson they will never forget," Saller said, his voice low and dangerous. "Prepare to engage at maximum power." The Federation ships began to circle the human warship, their weapons powering up. They were closing in fast. The battle was inevitable now. Back on the human warship, the crew was ready. There was no turning back. Captain Walker stood tall, his face hard with determination. This was humanity's moment to prove itself. They had come a long way, and they were not about to let the Federation crush them now. "Prepare for impact," Walker ordered, his voice steady. The warship's weapons fired first, sending a burst of energy at the closest Federation ship. The energy blast struck the enemy vessel, sending it spiraling off course. The Federation ships responded with a barrage of their own, but the human warship was already maneuvering, using its superior agility to dodge and counterattack. The battle had begun. The roar of weapons filled the air as the human warship danced between blasts from the Federation fleet. It was a beautiful chaos, each explosion shaking the vastness of space. Captain Elias Walker stood firm on the bridge, his eyes locked on the tactical display. The enemy ships were massive and well-armed, but the human warship was fast, agile, and equipped with advanced technology. This battle, it seemed, was not going to be as easy for the Federation as they had expected. "Shields are holding," Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez reported from her station. Her voice was calm, but there was a hint of concern underneath it. "But their firepower is intense. We can't keep dodging forever." Walker nodded. "We won't have to." "Lieutenant Kane, do we have the new weapons system online?" "Ready to fire, Captain," Sergeant Layla Kane said from the weapons station, her fingers dancing over the controls. "We've got a clear shot at the lead Federation ship. Target locked." "Take it," Walker commanded. The warship's energy cannons blazed with bright blue light, the energy bursts cutting through the darkness of space. One of the Federation ships, a heavily armored cruiser, took the brunt of the blast. Its shields flickered, weakened by the sheer force of the impact, and for a brief moment, the crew aboard the human ship could see the Federation ship's hull crack under the pressure. "We've got a breach in their shields," Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted. "They're falling back." The Federation fleet wasn't expecting this. They had assumed that the humans were weak, an isolated species, no real military power to speak of. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. Human ingenuity was their greatest weapon, and in this battle, It was on full display. Walker watched as the Federation ships started to retreat, their formations breaking up. But it wasn't over yet. The Federation wasn't going to let this be the end of the encounter. Their pride wouldn't allow it. "Captain, we've got more ships incoming," Rodriguez warned, her fingers moving across her console rapidly. "They're bringing reinforcements. A whole fleet just arrived from the nearby sector." Walker's face hardened. The Federation wasn't backing down, and the battle was about to escalate. "Get us out of here, Lieutenant," he ordered. "We need to make a tactical retreat and regroup. This battle is far from over, and we're not about to give them a reason to call in every ship in their fleet." The human warship swerved to the left, dodging a volley of laser fire, and began to race toward the edge of the battlefield. The Federation's reinforcements moved in quickly, eager to catch the retreating ship, but the human warship was faster. It slipped through the chaos like a shadow, its stealth systems cloaking it from the enemy's radar. For a moment, the warship was hidden in the vastness of space. Walker's crew held their breath, waiting. The silence on the bridge was thick, the only sound the steady hum of the ship's engines. "Enemy ships are out of range," Rodriguez reported. "We've escaped the immediate threat, Captain. For now." "Good work, everyone," Walker said, his voice steady but with a touch of pride. "But don't get comfortable. This was just a warning shot. The Federation will come after us again. And next time, we won't be so lucky." Sergeant Kane stepped forward, her eyes filled with determination. "We're ready, Captain. They think they can intimidate us, but we got a few tricks left up our sleeves." Walker nodded. "That's exactly why they'll never understand us. They think their power is enough to break us. They'll learn differently." As the warship cruised through space, the crew gathered in the briefing room, ready to plan their next move. They knew that the Federation was going to send more ships after them. It was inevitable. But this encounter had shown the Federation something important. Humans weren't just survivors. They were fighters. "We've got to hit them hard before they can regroup," Walker said, laying out a map of Federation space. "We know they'll come at us with everything they've got, but we're going to take the fight to them." The crew was already forming plans, each one more daring than the last. They knew the risks, but they also knew the stakes. This wasn't just about defeating the Federation. This was about showing the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. As Walker looked out at the stars from the warship's observation deck, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had come far from their humble beginnings. They were now a force to be reckoned with. And the Federation? They were just the first of many who would learn that lesson. The stars outside the human warship's window seemed to shimmer as the ship moved deeper into the vast expanse of space. Captain Elias Walker stood in the command center, gazing at the holographic map that displayed the current situation. The Federation had regrouped after their defeat, and now they were planning their retaliation. Their fleet was vast, and their anger was palpable. But there was something the Federation didn't understand. They were fighting a species that was relentless, resourceful, and unyielding. "We've managed to evade the initial retaliation," Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez reported from her station, her fingers moving across the console, scanning for any signs of enemy movement. "But they won't stop for long. They'll be closing in soon." Walker's jaw tightened. They had escaped the immediate danger. But this was just the beginning. The Federation didn't take failure lightly, and their pride would only make them more dangerous. They needed to strike fast and strike hard, or they would be caught in the next wave. "Prepare for the counterattack," Walker ordered. "We're not running anymore. We're going to make them pay for what they've done." Lieutenant Kane, the weapons officer, turned from her station with a determined look on her face. "Captain, the new missile systems are online. If we hit them hard enough, we can disable their lid ships before they even know what's happening." Walker nodded. He had faith in his crew's abilities. The humans had built their reputation not by fleeing from conflict, but by standing firm when everyone else would break. "We need a plan," Walker said, Looking over at his tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Alicia Trent, "We know the Federation is coming after us with a vengeance. How do we fight back?" Trent pointed to the map, where several Federation fleets were marked in red, closing in on their position. "We have two options, Captain. First, we could try to sneak past them, but their fleet's positioning makes that nearly impossible. Second, we could lure them into an ambush. They've already underestimated us once. Let's make them do it again." Walker considered the plan. An ambush would be dangerous, but it might give them the element of surprise they needed to deal a heavy blow. It wasn't a risk he wanted to take lightly, but it was the only option that might work. "Set the trap," Walker said. "We'll make it look like we're vulnerable. Get our stealth systems up and running, and prepare the fleet for a direct attack. When they get close enough, we'll hit them hard." The crew sprang into action, working with the precision of a well-oiled machine. They knew the stakes. They knew the Federation would come at them with everything they had. And they were ready. As the human warship moved closer to the ambush point, the tension aboard the ship was palpable. The crew could feel the weight of the situation. It was a gamble, and if they didn't succeed, they could find themselves overwhelmed by the sheer number of Federation ships. "Stealth systems activated," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, her voice calm despite the pressure. "We're invisible to their sensors. They won't see us coming." "Keep it that way," Walker said. "The moment we strike, we need to disappear again. Let's make them regret underestimating us." The Federation fleet was closing in fast. They didn't know what was waiting for them. The human warship was silent in the darkness of space, its crew holding their breath. The ambush was set, and now they just had to wait for the right moment. Suddenly, a loud warning alarm rang through the ship, jolting the crew to attention. "They've spotted us," Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted. "What? How?" Walker demanded. "The Federation has some advanced sensor technology of their own," Rodriguez explained quickly. "They'd locked onto our energy signature. We're not as invisible as we thought." Walker cursed under his breath. This was not good. The element of surprise was gone, but they couldn't afford to back down now. "Change of plan," Walker barked. "We're not running. We'll fight. Get those missile systems ready and prepare for full assault. We're not just going to survive. We're going to win this." The human warship, despite being outnumbered, surged forward, its weapons powering up. The first missile barrage launched, streaking through the void of space, hitting the nearest Federation ships with devastating accuracy. Explosions erupted across the battlefield as the Federation fleet tried to regroup, but the humans had already gained the upper hand. Direct hit on their lead ship, Lieutenant Kane shouted as the Federation cruiser's shields collapsed under the intensity of the attack. "They're disabled. Their communications are down." The human crew cheered, but Walker's focus didn't waver. This was only the beginning. The Federation had taken the first blow, but they would retaliate with everything they had. The battle was far from over. As the warship continued its assault, Walker could feel the weight of the fight pressing down on him. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving that humanity had a place in the galaxy. It was about showing the Federation and the rest of the galaxy that humanity's strength could not be easily crushed. "Keep pushing forward," Walker ordered, his voice fierce. "We're making them pay for every second they've wasted thinking we were weak. Let's show them the true strength of humanity." The warship blasted through the void, its crew united in their resolve. The Federation had made a dangerous mistake, and they were going to learn the cost of underestimating the human race. The battle raged on in the vast expanse of space. The human warship, though outnumbered, had delivered a series of devastating blows to the Federation's front lines. The Federation fleet, reeling from the sudden assault, was scrambling to regroup and retaliate, but the humans were relentless. Captain Elias Walker stood at the heart of it all, eyes locked on the view screen, watching as his crew fought back with every ounce of strength they had. "Keep up the pressure," Walker ordered, his voice steady but urgent. "We've cracked their formation. Don't give them a chance to recover." Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, sitting at the tactical station, quickly fed data to the rest of the crew. "The Federation's lead ships are heavily damaged, but they're sending reinforcements. They're desperate now." "They're underestimating us," Walker replied, his eyes scanning the battlefield. "They're still thinking they can overpower us with numbers. They don't know what we've got waiting." "Incoming Federation reinforcements," Lieutenant Kane, the weapons officer, reported, her voice tight with focus. "They've got more firepower than we expected." "We'll deal with them," Walker said, clenching his fists. "Fire all weapons at their vulnerable points. Let's show them why they made a mistake coming after Earth." The human warship responded in kind, launching a series of missiles that tore through the Federation reinforcements, sending debris flying across space. The Federation ships, once thought to be an unstoppable force, now seemed to falter under the onslaught. "Direct hits on their flagship," Lieutenant Kane shouted, her hands flying over the controls as the human weapons systems rained fire on their enemies. "Good work," Walker said, but he knew it wasn't over yet. The Federation wouldn't give up easily, and they were far from finished. If they wanted to win this battle, they had to keep the pressure on. Suddenly, a series of warning lights flashed across the control room. The crew's focus shifted instantly. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted, her voice filled with alarm. "There's a massive Federation fleet arriving from behind us. They've flanked us." Walker's heart raced. The Federation had outmaneuvered them. The ambush they had hoped to set was falling apart. Now they were caught in a pincer, with the Federation closing in from both sides. "Initiate evasive maneuvers," Walker barked, quickly recalculating their options. "Don't give them a chance to pin us down. We need to break free. Fast." The human warship veered to the left, narrowly avoiding a deadly barrage of laser fire from the Federation's new fleet. The ship rocked with the impact of several near misses, but its reinforced hull held strong. "Reinforcements are arriving from the rear," Lieutenant Trent, the communications officer, called out. "We're not alone out here. The Earth fleet has arrived to back us up." Walker's eyes widened in relief. "Earth fleet, hold the line," he ordered. "We're going to turn the tide. Make sure they know Earth doesn't surrender." With the arrival of the Earth fleet, the battle shifted in humanity's favor. The Federation's flanking maneuver had been thwarted. Human ships, fully prepared and eager to fight, joined the fray, pouring fire into the Federation's ranks. Their sudden appearance sent shockwaves through the enemy forces, and the Federation's momentum was broken. "Captain, we've got them on the run," Lieutenant Rodriguez said, her voice full of excitement. "Their ships are retreating. The Federation's lost their will to fight." Walker's heart swelled with pride. This wasn't just a victory in battle. It was a message. Humanity had shown that it would not be crushed, no matter the odds. They had fought back against an overwhelming enemy, and now the Federation knew the strength of the human spirit. "Don't let up," Walker warned. "We finish this now. Pursue their retreating ships. We end this fight here and now." The Earth fleet surged forward, cutting through the remnants of the Federation's forces. It was a coordinated assault, each ship playing its part to finish the job that had been started. The Federation, battered and broken, no longer had the strength to fight back. The human warship, with its crew united and resolute, had proven that humanity would never be a pushover in the galaxy. "Victory is ours," Captain Walker said, his voice quiet but full of satisfaction. "We've shown them what humanity is capable of." The battlefield was quiet now, the remnants of the Federation fleet drifting in the silence of space. The human warship stood victorious, its crew battered but proud. This battle, though hard-fought, had been won. And in doing so, humanity had sent a message to the entire galaxy: never underestimate the strength of the human will. But as Walker stood there, looking out into the endless stars, he knew this victory was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and many more challenges awaited them. But with the strength of humanity behind them, they were ready for whatever came next. The aftermath of the battle was surreal. The vast expanse of space, once filled with the chaos of war, was now quiet. The Federation's fleet was shattered, its flagship severely damaged and drifting aimlessly in the void. The human warship, though battered, stood strong in the silence, its crew exhausted but victorious. Captain Elias Walker stood on the command deck, staring at the view screen. The Federation ships that had once seemed so imposing were now scattered wrecks, floating lifeless in space. His mind replayed the chaos of the past few hours. The close calls, the bravery of his crew, the adrenaline-fueled decisions that had ultimately turned the tide. But even now, a part of him couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief. "We did it," Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez whispered, her voice full of awe. "Yes, we did," Walker replied, turning to face his crew. The tired expressions of his officers were mixed with a look of relief. They had fought a war against impossible odds and emerged victorious. But Walker knew that this victory, as sweet as it was only a small part of a larger story. "Captain, Earth Fleet is securing the remaining Federation vessels," Lieutenant Kane reported, her eyes focused on the tactical display. "We've won the sector. The Federation is in full retreat." Walker nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. This wasn't just a battle won. It was a turning point. Humanity had sent a clear message to the galaxy. Earth was no longer the underdog. The galaxy would never look at them the same way again. "Prepare for debriefing," Walker ordered. "We need to send a message to command. But first, let's take a moment to remember what we've accomplished here today." The bridge fell into a moment of quiet reflection. Crew members looked at each other with a mix of exhaustion and pride. They had fought through the impossible, and together, they had overcome it. "Captain," Lieutenant Trent, the communications officer, said hesitantly, "we're receiving a transmission from the Federation's high command." Walker frowned. He had expected this. The Federation's leadership would want to know what had happened. They would demand answers. The consequences of their defeat were sure to ripple through the galaxy. Humanity had proven its strength, and the Federation could no longer ignore Earth. "Put it through," Walker ordered. The screen flickered, and the image of a tall, imposing figure appeared. The Federation's Supreme Commander, a figure known throughout the galaxy for his ruthlessness, appeared before them. His cold eyes studied Walker as if trying to find a weakness. "This is Supreme Commander Zoreth of the Federation." The commander's voice was deep and unyielding. "You have made a grave mistake, Captain Walker. This battle was not a victory for you. It was a death sentence." Walker met his gaze without flinching. "You're wrong, Commander. This battle wasn't a mistake. It was a declaration. Humanity is not your enemy, but we won't be your prey either." Zoreth's expression darkened. "You think this is over? This is just the beginning. You have made powerful enemies, Captain. The Federation does not forgive." "We'll be ready for whatever comes next," Walker said firmly. "You've underestimated us for the last time." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in a heady silence. Walker could feel the weight of the words hanging in the air. This was far from over. The Federation may have retreated today, but their thirst for control was far from quenched. They would come for Earth again. "We'll deal with them when the time comes," Walker said, his voice steady. "But for now, we've earned our victory." The crew nodded in agreement. For them, this was more than just a battle. It was a symbol of what humanity could accomplish when united. The galaxy had seen what they were capable of, and now there would be no turning back. As the crew began the process of cleaning up the aftermath, Captain Walker took a moment to look out at the stars. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. He could feel it in the air. The Federation would regroup, and new challenges would emerge. But humanity was stronger now. They had proven their strength, their ingenuity, and their will to survive. The galaxy had just learned a lesson it would never forget. Never underestimate Earth. And as the human warship drifted slowly through space, Captain Walker knew that this was just the beginning. They had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable of. Now it was time to prepare for whatever came next. The tides of the galaxy had shifted, and Earth stood poised to make its mark on the stars.